In Russia, where a family of 3 sits by the river, enjoying their moment. The youngest of them, Sergei Alyoshkov, brags to his big brother and mom about being at the top of a tree, when suddenly, German warplanes fly by. The mother tells her kids to quickly hide in the undergrowth, but the 6-year-old claims he is not frightened and shoots the jet with a catapult. To everyone's amazement, he manages to hit the jets and destroy them. But when he looks around, his family has vanished. Sergei wakes up terrified from the nightmare and calls for his mom. Just then, someone knocks on his door. Assuming it's his mom, he runs towards it, but a neighbor lady comes in frantically. She thanks God for sparing his life and informs him that his mom and brother have perished. The little boy can't grasp what she's saying and wants to stay in the house to wait for his mom. The lady tells him that the Germans have invaded and that he should flee. Just then, some soldiers approach their home. The lady makes Sergei escape out through the window, but is fatally shot before she can join him. The little 6-year-old is now alone, with no family or friends. As Sergei flees from the house, he sees his entire community ablaze behind him. He cries out for his mother in vain and runs away from the scene. After running for a while, he ends up in the midst of the forest. The little kid starts to call for his mother to come and rescue him because he is lost. That night he takes shelter in the wilderness. The following morning we see him quench his thirst from a river when the enemy troops approach his path. Sergei, knowing they are perilous, quickly conceals himself inside a tree's roots. He is startled when a serpent comes nearby, but remains silent and still. Sergei is more terrified of the troops than of the serpent. The soldiers dine by the river and depart, after which Sergei scavenges their leftover rations and consumes them for the night. However, by the end of the day, the little boy is utterly drained. He hasn't had a proper meal in 2 days and has been wandering aimlessly. He collapses as he limps but refuses to halt. While on his way, he spots wild berries and gorges on them. But just then, a blast occurs behind him, catching him off guard. The boy becomes disoriented and starts to hallucinate someone approaching him. However, even in such a state, he summons courage and warns the apparition that he has a rifle and is not intimidated. He hobbles forward but succumbs to unconsciousness after a while. While he is asleep, 2 soldiers approach him. The scene shifts to the Russian military base, where Commander Kuznetsov awaits his patrol troops. They arrive with the young boy, who is wounded and frail. When the soldiers assure him they are on his side, the little boy opens up and introduces himself. The soldiers chuckle when the kid shakes hands with the commander, suggesting he introduce himself as well. The soldiers develop a fondness for the little boy and gather around him. They offer him water and food. Even the typically stern commander shows compassion towards the kid. A nurse named Katya tends to Sergei's wounds and is captivated by his charm. The kid requests that she draw a tank on his bandages, as he aspires to be a soldier when he grows up. Even the injured soldiers engage with the kid and feel uplifted. Sergei is fascinated by the commander's firearm and his comrades. The commander too responds to all the little boy's inquiries and allows him to play with his ceremonial pistol after removing the ammunition. Sergei showcases the tank drawn on his stomach and brags about being a soldier himself. The boy is recovering remarkably fast. The nurse Katya requests that the commander permit the boy to remain with the battalion, but he declines, citing that it wouldn't be secure. He intends to send Sergei to a children's home. The soldiers devote all their leisure time to Sergei. He receives visits from numerous troops throughout the day. They bring him provisions sent by their families from distant lands and even allow him to play with their field glasses. One day, a soldier approaches the commander to request that the boy be permitted to remain with the battalion. The soldiers have developed a strong bond with the kid and regard him as one of their own. His presence alleviates the burden of war from their minds. However, the commander remains resolute about sending the boy to the orphanage for his own protection. The following day, the adversaries launch an assault and many soldiers are injured. A vehicle arrives to transport Sergei to the orphanage. The commander breaks the news to the kid and presents him with a wooden honorary pistol as a parting gift. The boy in turn embraces him, expressing concern for the commander's well-being. The commander's resolve softens in the boy's embrace, and he reverses his decision. He invites Sergei to remain with the soldiers as his surrogate son. That night, the soldiers scour the area for miniature military attire for the little boy, overjoyed to have Sergei stay with them. The commander awakens Sergei and presents him with the uniform. He dons it and runs around, resembling a genuine soldier. The others begin addressing him as their little combatant. As the kid runs around, the Germans launch an aerial assault on the battalion. The soldiers swiftly usher Sergei to a secure location and engage the enemy. The number of wounded soldiers increases rapidly. Sergei wants to contribute, so he fetches water for parched soldiers. One of them requests that he read a letter sent by his family because he has a bandage covering his eyes. The little boy wants to assist, but lacks literacy skills. He takes the letter and begins fabricating the contents, claiming that the soldier's cow is thriving back home. When the soldier says he doesn't have a cow, the others urge him to play along with the story and chuckle. He reads everyone else's letters in the same imaginative way and lifts their spirits. In the following scene, we see Katya and the commander conversing. The two appear to have a mutual attraction, but don't express their feelings. Later, Sergei informs the commander that he has assumed the role of orderly in the battalion and begins introducing himself as such. However, the boy then witnesses one of the soldiers' posts destroyed from the attack. The commander teaches him to remove his hat as a sign of respect for the fallen soldier. The next day, he persuades the commander to assign him a mission and is tasked with distributing letters among the soldiers. He accomplishes his task with ease and even gets the soldiers to dance for him. The following day, Sergei ventures a little farther from the base with his binoculars. As he is playing with them, he spots someone's leg moving from inside a haystack. He rushes back to the battalion and informs the soldiers about his discovery. The soldiers are doubtful, but accompany the boy anyway. When they approach the haystack, they are surprised to find 2 German spies concealed underneath. The spies are apprehended, and the kid is commended for his astuteness. That night, the commander presents Sergei with the official adoption documents. He is now formally the kid's father. Sergei is aware of the commander's affection for Katya, so, to reciprocate his kindness, he accompanies him to confess his feelings to her. However, they observe her conversing with another man and mistakenly assume she has feelings for someone else. The base is assaulted by the Germans once more. This time, Sergei assists the soldiers with all his might, by providing ammunition too. The soldiers on the front line, but the soldiers there order him to return to the shed because it is too perilous outside. When he arrives at the shed, he sees the commander and others in a state of distress because the phone's connection with the colonel has been severed. A soldier is dispatched to repair the damaged wires. Sergei follows the soldier and discovers he has been mortally wounded. He asks the dying soldier how he can repair the wires and takes it upon himself to do so. The connection is restored and additional troops are summoned. The 6-year-old saves everyone's life. Later, we see the commander and Katya conversing by the river. The commander finally reveals his affection for her and asks her to become Sergei's mother. Katya is ecstatic, but before she can respond, a soldier approaches them and hands the commander a letter, stating they have been dispatched from the base. The following day, all the soldiers depart for their new base alongside Sergei. However, en route, they encounter a minefield that destroys some of their vehicles. The commander is injured while the group's orderly, with whom Sergei had formed a close bond, perishes in the explosion. He weeps and embraces the commander. They transport the wounded individuals with them and proceed on their journey to their new base. When they finally arrive at the other base, they meet the commander's superior, the general. He too is impressed by the kid's zeal and commends the commander for having such an intelligent and resourceful kid. The following day, their division is honored with a guard's banner, and the boy also receives one. He vows to protect his country when the general presents him with his badge. One night, their base is assaulted with extreme ferocity, and the commander is pinned beneath the rubble. Sergei wails for his father figure and attempts to rescue him. He summons the other soldiers, who eventually extricate the commander from the debris. The next day, Sergei approaches the injured commander, whose hands were wounded while trying to save him. The kid has now become an integral part of the unit. He has no family beyond them and accompanies them wherever they go in the war. He is currently recognized as the world's youngest soldier ever, and the legendary tale of his courage and valor is now shared for the entire world to hear.